To order. Sergeants will please secure the chamber doors. Members, please take your seats. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. President.
All right, Senators, on this rainy, snowy March 3rd, we are so pleased to have Reverend Dr. Michael Parker II of Asbury United Methodist Church in Annapolis, Maryland, guest of the distinguished senator from the capital city. Please rise for the invocation.
Source of all being, we gather within these hallowed walls a beautiful picture of the diversity that is Maryland, from Hoy Crest on Backbone Mountain to the sandy shores of Ocean City. For the work of this day, we seek guidance, creativity, unity, and hope. We give thanks for the diversity of gifts that we bring to this moment, mindful that the utilization of those gifts is what will make our communities, our state, our nation, our world a better place. In places where peace, healing, unity, and comfort are needed, be the source. In a world where division and injustice seem to be normative, guide the work and efforts of this humble body. May their work be done for the greater good of all those that call these grounds home. Enable us to work as one as we seek justice, acceptance, and a better future for Maryland. And when the work of this day has concluded, may we leave knowing that our best has been done, our hope has been renewed, and our commitment to service has been lived out to the best of our ability. For the gift of prayer, spoken and lived, we give thanks. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate that. Recognize the senator from the capital city.
Thank you, Mr. President. We are certainly blessed to have Pastor Parker here with us today. He is senior pastor of Asbury United Methodist Church here in Annapolis, Maryland, where he served since July of 2025. He is a graduate of the Baltimore School for the Arts, of Coppin State University, the Coppin State, of the Wesleyan Theological Seminary. He has been blessed to serve in ministry for the last 14 years as a senior pastor in the United Methodist Church. He is a Baltimore, Maryland native, and today he is joined by two of his parishioners, an alderwoman from the Annapolis City Council, Alderwoman Janice Alsop Johnson, and his executive assistant, Tamara Perkins. Mr. President, I ask that that wonderful invocation be journalized.
Without objection, most certainly. Thank you, Senator. We will journalize the invocation, and thank you for your work and for your invocation this morning. Thank you. All right, has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call with 42 members in the chamber and a quorum being present. The Senate of Maryland is now back again in session. Let's see. Do we have? We have a special resolution today, one of our annual ones, of which we have a every year celebration and recognition of our Read Across America Day, which is focusing on the importance of literacy across these United States, and sponsored by MSEA and our wonderful educators across the state of Maryland who are doing great work for us every single day. Great to see you. Thank you for being here with us today. We have the book that has been provided, so Senators, if you have your books for the donations, today is the day to hand over those books. If we could have the clerk read the resolution in full.
Be it hereby known to all that the Senate of Maryland offers its sincerest congratulations to the Maryland State Education Association in recognition of Read Across America Day. Congratulations on the 28th anniversary of Read Across America program celebrating a nation of diverse readers. The entire membership extends its best wishes on this memorable occasion and directs this resolution be presented on this third day of March 2026.
The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote, including Clifford the Big Red Dog? If not, the clerk will take the call. To the Maryland State Education Association, thank you so much and congratulations on the 28th anniversary of Read Across America Day. We are thankful for your advocacy and the work that you do in our classrooms every single day. Congratulations. We have our leadership from MSEA, who we're deeply thankful for. I need to make sure I hand over my book that has been provided. If actually, would you mind coming on up, Paul? If you're That's right. Thank you. Good to see you. Great work. Thank you. My faves. Yeah, it's the best. And I think Clifford will be around for those who are interested in getting a wonderful photo with the big red dog today. So, all right. Let's see. Introductions. Do we have any introductions? Yes, Senator from the 22nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, I would like to recognize Eleanor Roosevelt High School, an outstanding high school located in District 22 in Greenbelt. This high school is nationally recognized for its rigorous academic programs, particularly its highly competitive science and technology program, which attracts some of the brightest students in Prince George's County. The school has earned prestigious distinctions, including recognition as National Blue Ribbon School, reflecting its commitment to high achievement and student success. Today, we commend the students and teachers, administrators of Eleanor Roosevelt High School for their dedication and hard work. Their achievements reflect the very best our community has to offer. Today, we have 52 students and their teachers in the gallery today, visiting us, seeing the democratic process at work. Colleagues, please join me in giving these students and their teachers from Eleanor Roosevelt High School a warm Senate welcome. Thank you.
Welcome to Roosevelt High School. Keep up the great work. Thanks for visiting today. Yes, Senator from the Lower Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, colleagues and friends, this is a joyous day. It is Red Scarf Day, with women leaders, members of the Maryland Federation of Republican Women, joining us today from Western Maryland, from Central Maryland, to Southern Maryland, to Maryland's beautiful Eastern Shore. I'm a proud MFRW member, and I'm very humbled to welcome these Republican women leaders on Red Scarf Day. Let's give them a warm welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Excellent. Very good. All right. Yes, Senator from Howard and Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the floor today, I have a shadow who is here to learn more about the legislative process. It's Dr. Alejandra Ellison Barnes, if you could stand. She is an assistant professor at the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine and specializes in both internal medicine and pediatrics. So would ask the body to give a warm Senate welcome to her.
Wonderful. Welcome.
And in the forward gallery, we also have two resident physicians from Johns Hopkins. We have Dr. Gabriel Tissian and Dr. Ari Goldstein, who are up there learning about our legislative process as well. If we could ask the body to give them a warm Senate welcome. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Yes, Senator from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also have a shadow with me today, Aiden Govern. He is a resident of District 33. He's a junior at Archbishop Spalding High School in Severn. He is interested in law school sometime in the future. He's a Model UN. He's got an impressive resume and interested in the PAGE program for next year. So give him a round of applause.
Excellent. Welcome. The Pages can do a little bit of recruitment here on the site, right? Very good. All right. Any further introductions? Senator from the 40th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, up in the gallery over top of the president is Mr. Cameron Miles. For 15 years, he's been bringing young people to Annapolis, giving them a tour and meeting with legislators. Over that time, he's brought more than 400 students to Annapolis. This year, he's accompanied by young people from the Matthew A. Hinton Elementary School in the 40th District. Please join me in giving them a warm Senate welcome.
Welcome, and great to see our scholars from Matthew Henson. Thanks for joining us. All right, any further introductions? Yes, Senator from Montgomery County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, Colleen Reed is with me today as my shadow. She is a Rockville resident, an education activist, and former PTA mom. She's a 30-year nonprofit leader, and she has for many years been a diligent and effective member of my volunteer senatorial scholarship selection committee. I'm so thrilled to have her following me around today. Please join me in welcoming Colleen Reed.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. All right. Any further introductions? If not, so be considered the reading of the journal from the prior legislative day. We've got a fair amount of work today. We'll just jump right into it. We're going to start with consent calendars. This is out of finance. This is consent calendar number 1. Clerk will read the calendar.
Finance report number 9, consent calendar number 1.
All right. Recognizing the chair of the committee of finance on the consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Consent calendar number 1 has 7 bills. They are all local bills, have no amendments, are supported by the relevant county Senate delegation, and passed the committee unanimously. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report, consent calendar number 1.
Thank you, sir. And these are alcohol. These are all alcohol related.
All local alcohol.
Excellent. All right. The floor leaders move for the adoption of the favorable committee report for the bills on consent calendar number 1. Any discussion? Any objections? Any separations? All right. Without any separations or objections, consent calendar, the favorable committee report is adopted, and bills on consent calendar number 1 are hereby ordered printed for third reading. All right. We will go to consent calendar number 2. Clerk will read the calendar.
Finance report number 10, consent calendar number 2.
Recognize the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. And just like number 1, these are all local alcohol bills that have the support of the relevant county Senate delegation and passed the committee unanimously.
All right. Floor leaders move for the adoption of the favorable committee report for bills on consent calendar number 2. Any discussion or separations? Any objections to the report? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted for bills on consent calendar 2, and they are ordered printed for third reading. Let's go to finance report number 11. Number 11. Clerk, read the first bill.
Senate Bill 13, Senator Simonaire, alcoholic beverages, license fee, refund requirements, alterations, favorable.
Recognize Senator from District 5 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 13 requires that a refund for the unearned portion of a state or locally issued alcoholic beverage license fee be issued to a license holder upon surrender of the license if that holder volunteers for or has been called into uniformed services rather than the armed forces of the United States. So it's really changing it from armed forces to uniformed services just to make it a little more clear that it covers all the aspects. There are no amendments, there's no fiscal impact, and no opposition at the committee hearing. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 13 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 76, Senator Simonaire, Anne Arundel County, alcoholic beverages, Class C, licenses, memberships, favorable 1 amendment.
Recognize Senator from the 33rd as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 76 alters the criteria for a Class C veterans organization license in Anne Arundel County to include organizations composed of members who served in the uniformed services rather than the armed forces, thereby incorporating organizations that represent members who served in the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the Public Health Service. Amendment 1 adds co-sponsors to the bill. There is no fiscal impact. There was no opposition to the community hearing, and there is a letter of support from the Anne Arundel County delegation. I move the amendment and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report, the 1 amendment and the report. Any discussion on the amendment? Any objections to the amendment? Without objection, the 1 committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 76 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 361, Senator Attar, Baltimore City alcoholic beverages license extension, favorable 2 amendments.
Recognize the senator from the 40th District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 361 extends the termination date of a racetrack license issued by the Baltimore City Board of Liquor License Commissioners for the premises in the 5200 block of Park Heights Avenue until July 1, 2029 for the purpose of completing renovations at the location. There are 2 amendments. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 specifies the extension of the termination date of the license is for the additional purpose of completing a transfer of ownership and renewal at the location. There's no fiscal impact. I move the amendments and adoption of favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the two committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 361 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 401, Anne Arundel County Senators, Anne Arundel County Board of License Commissioners and Part-Time Inspectors, Compensation, favorable, one amendment.
Recognizing Senator from Anne Arundel as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 401 increases the annual salaries for members of the Anne Arundel County Board of License Commissioners, including the board chair, other commissioners of the board, and part-time inspectors working for the board. The bill also establishes that the salary for the deputy chief inspector is a minimum amount and requires that the reference salaries include a cost of living increases available to similar county employees. Amendment 1 is technical and clarifying. There was no opposition at the committee hearing, and there is a letter of support from the Anne Arundel County delegation. I move the amendment and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 401 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 441, Anne Arundel County Senators, Anne Arundel County Alcoholic Beverages, Golf Course License and Sports Activity Venue License, favorable with two amendments.
To the Roosevelt students, we don't only deal with alcohol, right? So it happens to be thematic of the day. So we actually take on many, many, many issues. We recognize the senator from the 33rd as the floor leader.
Including golf course licenses. Senate Bill 441 establishes a golf course license, a sports activity venue beer and wine license, and a sports activity venue beer, wine, and liquor license in Anne Arundel County. Amendment 1 is technical. Amendment 2 clarifies that a golf course is a Class GC license, not a Class C license. There was no opposition at the committee hearing, and there is a letter of support from the Anne Arundel County delegation. I move the amendments and adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the two committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 441 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 852, Anne Arundel County Senators, Anne Arundel County Alcoholic Beverages, Barbershop, and Beauty Salon License, favorable.
Recognize the senator from Anne Arundel as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last one from Anne Arundel County. Senate Bill 852 expands and renames the Barbershop Beauty Salon Beer and Wine License to be the Barbershop and Beauty Salon Beer, Wine, and Liquor License in Anne Arundel County. The license authorizes the license holder to provide up to 1.7 ounces of liquor for on-premises consumption by a barbershop or beauty salon customer as specified. There are no amendments. There is no fiscal impact. There was no opposition at the committee hearing, and there is a letter of support from the Anne Arundel County delegation. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
It's a lot of self-care in Anne Arundel. Golf courses, right? All right, floor leader moves the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 852 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 897, Cecil County Senators, Cecil County Alcoholic Beverages, alteration of license quota, favorable with one amendment.
Recognize the senator from Cecil County as the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Senate Bill 897, as amended, alters the quota applicable to the number of alcoholic beverage licenses that the Cecil County Board of License Commissioners may issue for Class A alcoholic beverage licenses. The board may not issue more than one Class A license for every 2,000 registered voters in the county, but may not issue fewer than 2 Class A licenses in each election district. The amendment increases from 1,200 to 2,000 and requires the board to issue at least 2 licenses per election district as described. There was no fiscal impact. There was no opposition at the committee hearing. I move the amendments and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 897 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Let's go to Stay with Finance Report number 12. Number 12. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 18, Senator M. Washington, State Board of Social Work Examiners, conditional license to practice social work, revisions, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognize the Vice Chair of the Committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 18, as amended, establishes a provisional license to practice social work at a bachelor or master of social work level. The license is available to individuals who qualify for a license to practice bachelor or master of social work except for passing the required examination. The duration of the provisional license is 12 to 24 months as set by the board. The license may not be renewed. The holder must practice under the supervision of a board-approved supervisor and may be issued a full license if they pass the required examination. Supervised hours may be counted toward the number of hours required for the independent practice, but may not be counted toward the hours required for LCSW-C license. While the bill is an emergency bill, the board is not required to issue provisional license until November the 1st of 2026, allowing the board approximately 6 months to develop regulations and procedures. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 strikes the bill as introduced, maintaining the existing conditional license and establishes the provisional license as described. I move the amendments and adoption of favorable committee report.
All right, floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 18 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 69, Senator Kagan, Nonprofit Organizations Navigator Termination Provision Repeal, favorable.
Recognize the senator from Montgomery County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 69 repeals the termination provision associated with the nonprofit navigator position created within the Department of Commerce during the 2025 legislative session. And it makes the position permanent, and the bill requires that the navigator continue to provide technical assistance, resolve grant-making delays, share information on funding opportunities, and represent nonprofit organizations as a member of the Maryland Efficient Grant Application Council. There are no amendments. There was no opposition at the hearing. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Yes, recognize the senator from District 7 on the report.
Yeah, floor leader, yield for a question.
Floor leader yield. Senator may regretfully proceed.
Thanks. So why are we making this now a permanent position? Didn't we just pass it last year with like a study for a couple of years?
It wasn't a study. We actually put the position into operation, and it was to last for a year in order to see how successful the position would be. And it turns out the position has been overwhelmingly successful in helping our myriad nonprofits connect with grant sources at the state level, at the federal level, creating several $100,000 in nonprofit grants that have touched on pretty much every one of our jurisdictions throughout the state. So the committee deemed it appropriate that we go ahead and make the position a permanent one.
All right. So a little concern on that, just looking at all these audits that are coming in, looking in the news with these nonprofits that are, some of them are not in good standing and they're getting state money and grants and stuff. Mr. President, can we just special order this for a day so I can look at an amendment for this, if you don't mind?
Any objections? Senators move to special order. Any objections?
No objection, Mr. President.
No objection. Any objections from the floor? Without objections, we'll special order the bill to the appropriate time tomorrow. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 300, Senator Hester, Economic Development, Rural Readiness Program, and Rural Maryland Capacity Funding Establishment, favorable 1 amendment.
Recognizing the senator from Queen Anne's as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 300 establishes the Rural Readiness Program, which is administered by Rural Maryland Council to enhance the capacity of rural communities for economic development by assisting eligible organizations with grant applications and revenue-generating development projects. Amendment number 1 adds an extremely important co-sponsor. There was no opposition at the committee hearing. I move the amendment and the adoption of favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 1 committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 1 committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 300 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 351, Senator A. Washington, Private Passenger Motor Vehicle Insurance, Use of Programs that Measure the Operation of an Insured Vehicle. Favorable, one amendment.
Recognize the bill sponsors, the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the Maryland Insurance Administration, released a study on the use of telematics programs in auto insurance rating. The telematics program is a technology used to track your driving behavior in real time. This bill establishes various prohibitions that apply to private passenger motor vehicle insurers that use programs to measure the operation of an insured's motor vehicle and establishes related responsibilities for the Maryland Insurance Administration. Part of the bill requires that there is a disclosure of data collected by the insurance company. It creates an appeal process to question the accuracy of said data, and it increases and it stops these insurance companies from increasing rates monthly instead of every 6 months. So instead of increasing monthly, it requires them to, if they do decide to change the rate, to increase it at 6 months, which puts it in order that we currently do insurance rating here. There is one amendment. The amendment makes clarifying changes, specifies that the bill only applies to private passenger motor vehicle insurance policies in the state and extends the effective date of certain provisions of the bill from October 1 this year to January 1, 2027. I move the amendments and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. Sort of the he or she who owns the data owns the world, right? It's an interesting, good bill. All right, on the amendment, any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 351 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 363, Senator Mouts, Maryland-Ireland Trade Commission membership and termination altered and extended. Favorable.
Recognize the senator from the 37th as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 363 extends the Maryland-Ireland Trade Commission within the Department of Commerce for 2 more years until September 30 of 2028. The Commission must continue to report its findings and recommendations with annual reports due in December 2026 and 2027. There are no amendments, there is no fiscal impact, there was no opposition at the committee hearing, and I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report on the best commission out there. No. Any discussion, any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 363 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 395, Senator Guile, peer-to-peer car sharing programs, insurance and liability. Favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognize the senator from Anne Arundel as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 395 repeals provisions of current law specifying which insurance coverage is primary when a vehicle is used for a peer-to-peer car sharing program. The bill also repeals provisions of current law that prohibit an insurer from denying, canceling, voiding, terminating, rescinding, or non-renewing a policy solely on the basis that a motor vehicle covered by the policy has been made available through such program. The bill authorizes part or all of the motor vehicle liability insurance during a car sharing period to be provided by a shared vehicle driver, establishes rules for accidents and incidents that occur in another state during a car sharing period, authorizes a peer-to-peer car sharing program to transfer monetary liability and charge drivers for any toll fee, charge, or fine imposed during a car sharing period, and clarifies that a peer-to-peer car sharing program is not liable for a citation issued through a traffic control signal monitoring system. There are 2 amendments. Amendment 1 is technical. Amendment 2 clarifies that a peer-to-peer car sharing service is responsible for providing the vehicle liability insurance policy required by law in specified circumstances. I move the amendments and the adoption of the favorable committee report.
All right, floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 395 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 439, Senator Jackson, Employment Discrimination, Fire and Rescue Public Safety Employees, Use of Medical Cannabis, favorable.
Recognizing the bill sponsors, the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 439 prohibits an employer of a fire and rescue public safety personnel from taking any adverse action against an employee based on the employee having a valid written certification for medical cannabis or a positive test for cannabis while holding a valid written certification. However, an employer may still adopt policies prohibiting such an employee from using cannabis and being impaired by cannabis while on duty. This bill passed out of the Senate last year. There are no amendments. There was no fiscal impact. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 439 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Senators, in the gallery, I believe we have Michael Powell, who's our Office of OPEGA, the performance evaluation. He also has some of his first-year program evaluators, Ben Reese, Sarah O'Donnell, and Corey Mitchell. If we could please give them a warm Senate welcome and thank them for their great work. Thank you all for joining us. Thanks for your work in the office. It's incredibly important, so thank you. All right, let's go to Education, Energy, and the Environment. We've got report number 7. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 150, Senator Simonaire, Notation of Veteran Status, Public Profiles, favorable.
Recognizing the bill sponsors, the floor leader.
Thank you. This bill expands existing authority related to the indication of veteran status on license under the purview of MDE, DGS, and the Department of Labor by authorizing these entities to also include a notation indicating veteran status on a person's public profile. The bill also makes a technical correction in a statutory provision that similarly authorizes health occupation boards to include veteran status on public profile. The bill was passed by EEE and financed unanimously. There were no amendments, and I move the favorable report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 150 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 197, Chair, Education, Energy, and the Environment Committee, Land Use, Comprehensive General Plans, Alteration of Elements, favorable, 2 amendments.
Recognizing the chair of the committee is the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 197 is a departmental bill from the Maryland Department of Planning. The bill modifies and reorganizes the elements that a local jurisdiction must include in its comprehensive general plan so the elements are consistent with the planning principles established under Chapter 63-64 of 2025. The bill also applies the elements consistently across all local jurisdictions and modifies certain guidance and requirements applicable to the plans as a whole and to specific elements. Mr. President, bill just reorganizes existing law. It does not really make substantive changes. There are 2 committee amendments. Amendment number 1 alters the list of facilities that local jurisdictions may include in a community facilities sub-element of the land element and makes various other technical and corrective changes. Amendment number 2 clarifies that the bill applies prospectively and does not affect comprehensive planning processes started or completed before the bill's effective date. There was some additional opposition with these amendments, Mr. President. All the opposition went away, and with that, the bill passed unanimously out of committee. And I would move adoption of those 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report, Mr. President.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Oh, yes, recognize the minority whip on the amendments.
Just a question. I just saw this bill. I'm looking at the list about the Planning Commission for a charter county shall include in the general plan. I'm on page, I guess, 2 of the bill. It's a 52-page bill. So I haven't read all 52 pages yet. But the planning principles under 1-201 of this title, so we have a land element instead of a development regulations element, transportation element, housing was existing law, sensitive area element is existing law, an economy element, which replaces transportation. But water resources is replaced by an equity element. Where are water resources found in the rest of this list?
Okay, I'll try to get some. It is a 52-page bill that, again, at the end of the day, was no opposition.
Well,
Yeah, yes, we've can I respond?
Please,
we have,
please.
So some of this, as I say, was reorganized. So some of there was a consolidation of, and specifically water elements okay, now it goes under the ecology section. Again, we're consolidating some of these elements to make it more efficient. Substantively, I think the elements are not different. It's just, again, a consolidation. So water resources is now part of the ecology element now. So it's been subsumed.
No, that's those of us, my area and a couple of other areas of the state, water is always a challenge, and so that sometimes is a unique problem in my area for planning. So just watching that, and okay, I'll look for some of the other definitions as to what we mean by some of these terms. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Senator. All right, question remains on the 2 committee amendments. Any discussion on the amendments? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 197 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 498, Washington County Senators, Washington County Salary Study Commission membership alterations, favorable.
Recognize the senator from the 38th District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 498 is a local bill. It alters the membership of the Washington County Salary Study Commission by replacing the member from the Cumberland Valley Associated Builders and Contractors with a member from the Washington County Home Builders Association. There are no amendments, there's no fiscal impact, and move for a favorable report for Senate Bill 498.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 498 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 581, Senator Jennings, Department of Information Technology, Statewide Information Technology Master Plan, reporting favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognize the senator from Harford County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill requires the Secretary of Information Technology to post a statewide Information Technology Master Plan publicly on the Department of IT's website within 6 months after the date the governor is inaugurated in the governor's first term. If the Secretary is unable to meet that deadline, they must notify the governor in writing and specify committees of the General Assembly within 10 days after the missed deadline. There are 2 committee amendments. The first amendment is technical. The second amendment changes the 6 months of posting the plan to 1 year after the governor is inaugurated, and it also clarifies that the plan is submitted at the beginning of each gubernatorial term rather than just the first term. It also requires the department to brief the General Assembly on the plan each year. I'd like to move for the 2 committee amendments and for adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 581 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. All right, stick with EEE. We've got report number 8. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 11, Chair, Education, Energy, and the Environment Committee, Public Financing Act, Fair Campaign Financing Fund, distributions, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognize the Vice Chair as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this is a departmental bill from the State Board of Elections. It does 2 things. One is it lets a governor, lieutenant governor ticket that is participating in public financing get access to the money 6 months earlier to make it more viable and more useful for them. The thought was that that will make it more enticing to use the fund. The amount doesn't change, they just get access to it earlier. The other thing it does is change the date of filing campaign finance reports from the 3rd week to the 4th week, and that makes it better for overlap with the federal reports. So with that, Mr. President, I'd like to move adoption of the 2 committee reports, the first of which is technical, and the second one just adjusts the date of the reports. Move adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report, recognizing the minority whip on the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wonder if I could ask the floor leader to yield.
Senator may proceed.
Just checking on this, I was reading through the bill. The Fair Campaign Financing Fund is something that's actually got a very proud history in Maryland. We've had 2 governors elected. One never got to take office, but so we had you remember from 1994.
I do.
Yes. Well, one person nearly won the governorship on public financing. Very came within 5,000 votes. And then we had Governor Hogan also. So it's from the Republican side, even though we don't generally ideologically agree with necessarily public funding of elections. It's an interesting concept, and I know some of our counties are doing it. I guess my concern about moving the date up, and maybe you could help me understand it, is number one, you have to reach the match by the time you get any matching funds.
Correct.
But of course, I guess this is a management issue, but you're getting the money real early. I mean, you're going to burn through that. But you only get so much money when you're doing the campaign financing fund. So by moving it 6 months earlier, is it going to allow for somebody running for governor early to exhaust the campaign fund, and then someone who files later not have any available? How does that work?
Well, you could argue that money management would be a good skill for a governor to have.
Well, but
And
also
so-
squeezing out your opponents before they can get access to it could be a good skill.
So it's as early as July, the prior July, rather than January of the election year. But it can be, it's not July as the only option. It can just be a month or 2 earlier rather than 6 months earlier. It's not a July.
It's
or-
just as early as you can access any of it.
Correct. And then you start parsing it out, getting the word out, campaigning, and being out there. But you have access to funds, to $3 million to get out around the state to convince voters that you're the best candidate.
Can I ask you, and I'm not trying to play like a trick question, if someone decides to run for governor and does the public financing, can they at a certain point say, you know what, things are going so great, and I've got donors interested or whatever, I'm no longer going to take advantage of the public financing. After all, I'm going to jump into the private financing. I'm not sure what to call it. I feel like that's happened before, but I might be wrong. So like I start out, I'm doing the $250 max donors or matched, et cetera. And then I got all these people coming my way that want to give me a lot of money.
Yeah, I just got it confirmed by council. No, you pick your lane. You're either getting lots of money from wealthy folks, from less wealthy
everybody.
folks,
Sure,
from special interest, or you're doing the match. You're getting qualified, and then you're getting the fair campaign financing.
But once you're in, you're in.
Once you're in, you're in.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
if someone were to be elected and then run for re-election,
Then
they
they're
could do
not-
it the other way.
understood.
No,
No.
it's not a
Good.
forever decision.
Understood. Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator. All right, on the 2 amendments, any further discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 11 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 24, Chair, Education, Energy, and the Environment Committee, State Board of Medical Services Board, Public Access Automated External Defibrillator Program, revisions, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognize the senator from the 35th as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This departmental bill alters the Public Access Automated External Defibrillator, or AED, program by doing 4 things. It clarifies which entities are required to participate in the program. It exempts a law enforcement agency from obtaining a certificate for an AED deployed in a patrol vehicle. It codifies the role of an AED coordinator, and it repeals obsolete provisions related to regional councils and regional council AED committees. There are 2 committee amendments. The first amendment is technical. The second clarifies the registration requirements for an entity that is a grocery store or restaurant. I'd like to move the 2 committee amendments and ask for adoption of the favorable committee report.
All right, floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 24 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 80, Chair, Education, Energy, and the Environment Committee, Maryland Public Ethics Law, Financial Disclosure Statements, State Officials of and Candidates to be State Official of the Judicial Branch, favorable.
Recognizing Chair of the Committee is the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This departmental bill from the State Ethics Commission repeals a provisional law requiring the Administrative Office of Courts or another body designated by the Supreme Court of Maryland to send a copy of the financial disclosure statement submitted by judges, candidates for judgeships, or judicial appointees to the State Ethics Commission. The bill further clarifies that the Commission of Judicial Disabilities, the Judicial Ethics Committee, or another body designated by the Supreme Court of Maryland is the one responsible for administrating and implementing the provisions of law regarding conflicts of interest as it applies to state officials or candidates to be state officials of the judicial branch. Finally, Mr. President, the Administrative Office of the Courts is responsible for administering and implementing the financial disclosure provisions of the public ethics laws, and number two, to maintain financial disclosure statements of state officials and candidates to be state officials of the judicial branch and make those statements available for public inspection. Mr. President, there was no opposition to this piece of legislation. Bill passed unanimously. I'll move adoption of the favorable committee report on Senate Bill 80.
Floor leader moves the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 80 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 100, Chair, Education, Energy, and the Environment Committee, Election Law, Early Voting Centers, Bus Stops, favorable.
Recognizing Vice Chair of the Committee is the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this is another departmental bill from the State Board of Elections. It's common sense and doesn't cost anything, and it makes it easier for our voters, our constituents, to get to the polls. It simply says that if an existing bus line goes within a half a mile of one of our 97 early voting centers, that they should detour during early voting in order to let our elderly or disabled or in bad rain or whoever wants to get to the voting centers while they're open. So there were no amendments. It passed the committee unanimously. Move adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves the adoption of the favorable committee report. Recognize the minority leader on the report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just if the floor leader would yield for a question.
Senator may proceed.
Of course.
Thank you very much. You mentioned just bus routes, but the bill seems to be that it's just county and municipal bus routes?
That's
Is that right?
correct. It exempts Metro, the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, and some others. It's just local bus routes.
So why would the state and WMATA, why were they exempted?
It's a good question. It came in that way from the Board of Elections. If you'd like to
No, I
have
just
that
wondered if there was a
conversation.
specific, I mean, I think when most people think of the bus routes, you're thinking of, Maryland Transit Administration, you're thinking about WMATA and DC Metro. So I just wondered if there was a concern with that, maybe it was cost or something like that.
I think for WMATA, they're not in the neighborhoods, and our early voting sites are in neighborhoods. So we're looking at local buses.
Okay, so just local. And then you mentioned, again, or the way that the bill says, if the route's within a half mile,
Correct.
then it does have to make a detour to get to the entrance
It
of
does.
the...
It does, just during early voting. It's not a permanent change in the bus route. It's just during early voting days.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
President.
All right, recognize the senator from the 28th district on the bill.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Question for the floor leader.
Of course.
Senator may proceed.
Yeah. Quite a few of our voting centers are not accessible to handicapped individuals. So when you say buses can detour, does that include like those special vehicles that someone call in Metro Access? Thank you. Metro Access?
So first, Senator, thank you for the question. Our early voting centers are accessible to people with disabilities. That's one of the criteria that our State Board of Elections, our board, not just the staff, but that's what our board looks at. That's what our 24 local boards of elections look at when they make their recommendations. They want people to be able to get there in order to cast their ballot.
Well, there's some doubt as to that statement, Senator. There was a bill that put in through your committee, went through last year and this year, where I think 23, 24 organizations say there's a severe problem with access to voting centers. Organizations like AARP, the ARC of Maryland, Disabled American Veterans, all these organizations said that we have access problems when it comes to disabled individuals to our voting locations. So I'm not sure where you get that statement. In the last few months, do they have like a major construction issue with these voting centers, or did they move all these locations to make sure they're accessible?
Senator, if there are specific locations in Charles County in your district or elsewhere that you're aware of that are not accessible to the disabled, I know that the state board would love to hear about it and would look into it. But there have been conversations about equal access for people of different ethnicities and making sure that they are available. Also political access. I can speak to in Montgomery County when there were 2 that were going to be added. They did one in a predominantly Democratic area and one in a predominantly Republican area to try to be fair.
Yeah, I thank you for that answer. So, I mean, throughout the state of Maryland, this is a state of Maryland issue as far as, you know, because these organizations wrote in that the disabled have access issues to these voting locations, and that's a big issue which we attempt to address. I just would love to, may I lay this bill over, Mr. President, to take a look at it?
A layover wouldn't be in order. It doesn't have an amendment. Senator could special order.
Special order. Yeah, special
Senators
order.
moved to special order the bill. Any objections?
That's fine. Thank
Okay.
you.
No objections.
Yes,
All right.
thank you, Mr.
Any
President.
objections from the floor? Without objection, the bill will be special ordered to the appropriate time tomorrow. All right. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 142, Chair, Education, Energy, and the Environment Committee, Maryland Military Department, National Guard, tuition assistance, favorable.
Recognize the senator from the 27th as the floor leader.
Appreciate it, Mr. President. Senate Bill 142, Maryland Military Department, National Guard, tuition assistance. This is a departmental bill for the purpose of tuition assistance provided by the Military Department. Expands the definition of to include any trade or career school recognized by the Maryland Higher Education Commission or the Maryland Apprenticeship and Training Council, including by removing the requirement that private school provide a minimum tuition waiver. Expands the assistance for the Maryland Department may provide to include training assistance as defined under the bill, and established the existing 2-year post-course service obligation required applied to the career courses. I move the adoption of the favorable committee report. There were no apprehension in our committee.
All right. Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 142 is hereby ordered, printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 153, Chair, Education, Energy, and the Environment Committee, Election Law, Campaign Finance Entities, Oversight and Control of the Campaign Funds, favorable.
Recognizing Vice Chair of the committee is the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, we've seen some in the news, some stories about problems with shady dealings, embezzlements, and misuse of campaign funds. This is a departmental bill from the State Board of Elections that'll just tighten it up, make it clear that our treasurers are the ones who are responsible for dispersing, overseeing. They're the fiduciary agents. If there's anything that's going to change about this, it needs to be put in writing with the State Board. There were no amendments. There's no costs. The bill was approved in committee unanimously. Move adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 153 is hereby ordered, printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 238, Senator Augustine, School Psychologist Interstate Licensure Compact, favorable.
Recognize the senator from the 41st as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill enters Maryland into the School Psychologist Interstate Licensure Compact. The bill details the conditions for entry into the compact, compact governance under the School Psychologist Interstate Licensure Compact Commission, compact financing, information exchange in the compact, and dispute resolution processes, amongst other provisions. There are no amendments, and I move adoption of the favorable committee report. Thank you.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 238 is hereby ordered, printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 241, Senator Augustine, election law, individuals released from state correctional facilities, automatic restoration of voter registration.
Recognize the senator from the 23rd as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this bill requires the Department of Public Safety and Correction Services to electronically transmit to the State Board of Elections on a weekly basis information on individuals released from incarceration at a state correctional facility in the immediately preceding week, in order for SBE to then restore the voter registration of such individuals who were previously registered to vote in the state before being incarcerated and whose new residential address are in the state. Notifications must also be sent to an individual notifying them of their voter registration, their eligibility to vote, and how to decline registration or update their address. There were 2 committee amendments. The first is technical. The second requires on or before January 1st, 2028, the SBE and the Department of Correctional Services to jointly develop and implement procedures and an electronic submissions process for the restoration of voter registrations for individuals released from incarceration in a state correctional facility. Describes the information that must be provided to SBE by the Corrections Services each month instead of weekly, requires prompt versus automatic restoration of voter registration of covered individuals, and notwithstanding the Public Information Act, prohibits disclosure of voter registration agency through which formerly incarcerated individual was registered to vote. There's no state fiscal impact. There are impacts to local revenues. I move adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, recognize the senator from District 6.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to lay over the bill under the rule.
All right, the senator's motion is in order. The bill and the amendment will lie over under the rule. All right, let's go to budget and tax. This is report number 4. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 9, Senator Brooks, Sales and Use Tax, Tax-Free Day, Veterans Day, favorable 1 amendment.
All right, recognize Senator from Prince George's as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a bill that honors our veterans by establishing Veterans Day as a tax-free day for the sale of items to a veteran for a less than $2,000 with certain qualifications for the exemption. There is 1 amendment to add sponsors to the bill. Move adoption of the 1 amendment and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 1 committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 1 committee amendment is adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes. Recognize. Senator has an amendment. Pages will collect and distribute the senator's amendment. It's our first amendment of the week. Pages are going to work out here. Just give us a moment to get it on the board. Pages, as you distribute it, sometimes senators are busy reading intently on the legislation before them, so just feel free to drop it on their desks if they are otherwise focused. Recognize the senator on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a great bill, and I support it. Currently, this bill requires evidence that you are a veteran, and one of those evidence is that you have a veteran's notation on a driver's license. This amendment simply just says any state-issued license would be acceptable. It also adds a co-sponsor.
All right. On the amendment, check with the floor leader.
We'll accept this as a friendly amendment.
All right. No objections from the committee and any objections from the floor? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 9 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 23, Senator Kagan, Green and Renewable Energy Efficiency for Nonprofits, Green Loan Program and Fund Establishment, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognize Senator from Prince George's as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 23 is amended similar to Senate Bill 105, which passed the Senate during the 2025 session. The bill establishes a Green and Renewable Energy Efficiency for Nonprofit Loan Program in the Maryland Clean Energy Center, which is actually the change of the bill, and authorizes the transfer of money from the Strategic Energy Investment Fund to support the program, and specifies appropriations for the program for fiscal years 28 and 29. An uncodified provision requires MCEC to establish an application process, guidelines, considerations, and an advertising campaign for the program, which will take effect July 1st, 2026. And other provisions relating to the program take effect July 1st, 2027. There are 2 committee amendments. The first makes changes to the purpose paragraph. The second requires the Maryland Clean Energy Center, rather than the state treasurer, to hold, invest, and reinvest the fund, and requires the MCEC, rather than the comptroller, to account for the fund. Move adoption of the 2 amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor Leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Recognize the Minority Leader on the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. The floor leader would yield.
Senator may proceed.
Thank you very much. You did mention that we had looked at this bill last year. What happened with the bill last year? If you remember?
Yes, it passed last year. It passed the Senate.
Passed the Senate last year.
That is correct.
Did not pass altogether. Did not pass the House, is what you're saying?
That is correct.
Okay, so why? What is different about the loans that can be provided under this bill as opposed to some of the grants and loans that could be provided by any of the energy efficiency type of programs that the state has?
Well, as is indicated in the title, I mean, this is just very specifically authorizing for the nonprofits, who there were gaps for the nonprofits, which is the reason for the bill.
Gaps that they could not apply for the other loans?
That's correct. There were gaps for the nonprofits. That's why we created this. Rather, that's why this piece of legislation creates that.
Okay, so other for-profit businesses could apply with the other programs, but nonprofits could not apply for those loans.
That is correct.
Okay, and then I guess there has to be seed money to fund this. Is that included?
There is a general fund expenditure of $140,000 in 27 only, and then there are increases in the out years for funding out of the CEF.
So this is funded from the CEF?
Yes.
And was there? I didn't see. Was there an amount that the CEF that was
$5 million?
$5 million.
Yes.
So is this is this something that may be done or shall be done, or that? I think that was the question we had last year as well, too, right?
It is a.
I don't see it either. Do you see it?
1 second.
I'm looking as well.
It is a shall.
Okay, so the CEF, and do you recall if this was in the governor's budget already, or does this have to be changed to the budget?
Senator, that would be in FY28, not in FY27.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be.
We wouldn't see it this.
Correct.
The money that's needed right now is just to establish it at MCEC.
Yes.
And then future funding would be contingent on CEF, the availability in the CEF fund for the $5 million.
It is related to the CEF, but it is written as a shall.
Okay.
But I'm sorry, forgive me, correction. The may in fiscal 28 and 29. Forgive me.
Okay, that's what I thought. So the CEF fund may fund it down the road.
Yes.
Depending on if the CEF fund has any more money in it, because we've seen a lot of that being moved around. But okay, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Duly noted. Yes. Thank you, Senator. Yes, recognize Minority Whip.
I wonder if the floor could yield for one other question.
Senator, may proceed.
Thank you so much. So is there any requirement in this bill, and I don't see it, but I might not have seen all of it, is there any requirement that an applicant be in some sort of good standing or having filled out their proper paperwork, or is that not the nonprofit entity? Yeah.
I do not see an indication of the standing of the nonprofit. This is related to the nonprofit, but of course, the program would be run by MEA, and so they would be responsible for ensuring that
and promulgating regs.
Exactly.
As it relates. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right. Any further discussion on the amendments? Any objection to the amendments? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 23 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 30, Senator West, Baltimore County Property Tax Credit, Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge 34, favorable one amendment.
Recognize the senator from Baltimore County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 30 is a local bill that authorizes Baltimore County to grant by law a 100% tax credit for real property owned by the Fraternal Order of Police, Local 34. It's located in the middle of Maryland. There's just one amendment. It changes this bill to a Baltimore County Senator bill. There are no opposition. I move adoption to a favorable report, Mr. President.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. Any discussion on the amendment? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 30 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 168, Senator Watson, State Department of Assessments and Taxation, a blockchain-based real property title pilot program establishment, favorable with two amendments.
Recognize the senator from District 7 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended, this bill requires the Department of Assessment and Taxation, the Maryland State Police, the Maryland Judiciary, local law enforcement agencies, the Office of the Attorney General, third-party tech vendors, to conduct a study of the use of blockchain technology for securely recording and verifying real property ownership, as well as the use of blockchain technology to assist law enforcement and courts in resolving real property disputes involving squatters. Mr. President, as you know, we've had issues with squatters. Most recently, I saw a news article of I think it was a professor from Hopkins that had come home from vacation where a squatter had used a fake lease to take possession of their home. And that's what this legislation is trying to deal with. There was two amendments. Both of those kind of turned this into a study, basically turning what I spoke previously into a study. With that, the results of that will be due December 31st, 2026. So with that, I move favorable on this legislation, and there was no opposition in the committee.
All right, floor leader moves to the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, recognize the senator from Frederick County.
Would the floor leader yield
For
for
the
a
yield.
question, please?
Senator may proceed.
Yes.
Mr. Floor Leader, if you would mind, what exactly is blockchain?
All right. So blockchain technology, it's going to be a hard one to explain. So
it's pretty simple to explain, I would think.
Yeah.
At this point, no.
All right.
no
So think of it. Basically, it's a fingerprint. So think of a document. So when you have let's say a lease, you have a lease, you sign a lease with somebody, you take that document. I can't use props on the floor, but you have a lease. When you take that lease and you scan it, you're using what's called a hash. It's SHA-256, a type of hash, where it'll create a hexadecimal, I think it's 64 hexadecimal encryption of that. Of that, what it does, that's a fingerprint. It's sharing that fingerprint computers around the world, where everybody has that fingerprint now in their computers.
Is that the hexadecimal fingerprint?
Yes, it's called the hash. What that does is it puts it's now adding that chain, that block into the chain of custody in the other computers. So then that document, that's the fingerprint for that document. So if anybody changes that document, they can go back and look at it. So whether you check your computer, his computer, anybody else's computer, they'll all have the same fingerprint on it. It's basically, instead of having one central repository, that fingerprint's shared around the world. So that if anybody questions the validity of that document, and what happens is it creates a block within the chain. So then the next time somebody does a document, it adds to the next layer, and you keep creating these chains of documents of these, what do you call fingerprints, these hashes. And it's actually not the document that you're safeguarding in the blockchain, it's the actual hash, this fingerprint, this digital fingerprint. So that when somebody questions, and let's say that you come home from vacation and somebody's in your home saying, hey, I have a lease. And you're like, no, I have the lease. they can question, they can prove it saying, no, you go to court, you show the judge saying, look, I have a lease that from this date to this date, and you can prove that mine is valid and it limits fraud. It's pretty technically advanced. I'm trying to do my best to explain it.
I appreciate you trying to, you obviously know who you're talking to, so I appreciate you trying to dumb it down for me as best you can.
Okay.
So with that, I appreciate the time. Thank you for the explanation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Best.
Oh, okay. All right. Yes, Organized Minority Whip.
Mr. President, I move that we journalize the.
No. I didn't do it justice. It's more like a digital ledger. Think of it that way. It's like a digital ledger of the documentation that keeps getting recorded, and it just keeps building that ledger from the next person to the next person, where it's sharing it. Again, it's electronic digital fingerprints. Best way to put it.
Recognized Senator from the 23rd.
Thank you. A question for the floor leader.
Yes, Mr. Sponsor.
Just to clarify, so the blockchain is a decentralized digital ledger that records transactions in secure timestamp blocks linked together, making the data extremely transparent and difficult to alter. Is that fair?
That's the simplified way of saying it.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right.
Yeah, I was trying to explain it to the senator from District 4 on his level.
All right. It's like we become the House. It's like we know. It's like, oh, geez. All right. On the amendments, any further discussions? Any objections? Without objection, the two amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 168 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 305, Senator Hedelman, Qualifying Nonprofit Organizations Incarcerated Individual Training and Reenter Grant Fund Extension, favorable with one amendment.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This is not nearly as entertaining. Senate Bill 305 extends by 1 year through fiscal 29 the authorization for the governor to include an appropriation of $1 million in the annual budget bill to be used solely as an operating grant to nonprofit organizations, qualifying nonprofit organizations, for the purpose of providing training to formerly incarcerated individuals in auto repair. The bill updates the name of the office responsible for administering the grant, the Governor's Office of Crime Prevention Policy. There's one amendment to add sponsors to the bill. I move the adoption of the amendment and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 305 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 337, Senator Lewis Young, Correctional Officers Retirement System Membership Clarifications, favorable with one amendment.
Recognize the bill sponsor as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a joint committee on pensions bill that clarifies specified employees of the Maryland Department of Health are members of the Correctional Officers Retirement System as a condition of their employment. The bill also provides for the transfer of member services between systems. Colleagues, you may recall that eligibility for CORE's membership has been expanded in recent years from just correctional officers to include other specified job classifications as well as security attendants. The bill has one amendment which makes a technical correction for the position. So I move the adoption of the amendment as well as the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 337 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 357, Senator Bailey, St. Mary's County Gaming by Qualified Organization, license required, favorable with two amendments.
Recognize the senator from St. Mary's as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, Senate Bill 357, as amended, is a local bill. It's requiring that qualified organizations get a gaming permit whenever the organization conducts gaming in St. Mary's County. This also requires the St. Mary's County Commissioners must designate a person to monitor and administer so that we make sure that that's all done legally. There were 2 committee amendments. Amendment 1 makes changes to the title of the bill and purpose paragraph. Amendment 2 uses the term gaming permit rather than license and makes technical changes to the bill. I move for the adoption of the 2 amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 357 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 440, Senator Gazzone, Income Tax, Theatrical Production Tax Credit, Sunset Extension, favorable with 1 amendment.
Recognize the chair of the committee is the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is simply an extension for additional 5 years to this theatrical production tax credit. It's been in effect for 5 years. It has been, I would say, pretty wildly successful in the sense that we have now brought a number of these productions and the construction of these productions to our state, and when that was the whole purpose, is an economic development component to this. There is 1 amendment to add sponsors to the bill. I move the amendment and the favorable opinion.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 1 committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 1 committee amendment is adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 440 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 497, Washington County Senators, Property Tax, City of Hagerstown, and the Hagerstown Multi-Use Sports and Events Facility, exemption, favorable.
Recognize Senator from District 2 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 497 is similar to a bill we passed last year in regards to real property in the city of Hagerstown. When the bill was enacted last year, it was after the fiscal year, so this basically makes the bill retroactive. There's a local letter of support. It's bipartisan support from our delegation as well. We move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 497 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 501, Washington County Senators, Washington County Property Tax Credit, Platoon 22 Incorporated, favorable.
Recognize Senator from District 2 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 501 is a local bill that requires Washington County municipalities, Washington County, to grant a property tax credit against property and real property that is owned by Platoon 22 that they are used to provide housing for veterans. There's no opposition. There's support from our local county as well as our delegation. We move adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 501 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 503, Senator King, Growing Family Child Care Opportunities Program funding, favorable.
Recognize the chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Special order of this to the appropriate time on Friday.
All right, floor leader moves to special order the bill. Any objections? Without objection, the bill will be special ordered to the appropriate time on Friday. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 519, Senator King, Earned Income Tax Credit Assistance Program, Implementation, Delay, and Study, favorable.
Recognize chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Special order this to the appropriate time on Friday.
Senators move to special order the bill. Any objections? Without objection, the bill will be special ordered to the appropriate time on Friday. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 638, Senator Quarterman, Natural Resources, Maryland Heritage Areas Authority Funding and Grants, favorable with 1 amendment.
Recognize Senator from District 2 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 638 is identical to Senate Bill 980, which the Senate passed unanimously last session. There is 1 committee amendment that adds the committee of sponsors. We would move the adoption of the amendment in the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the 1 committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 1 committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 638 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. All right, let's go to judicial proceedings. This is report number 6. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 222, Senator Carrozza, Family Law, Child Custody Evaluators Qualification, favorable with one amendment.
222, yes, recognize Senator from District 1 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this bill specifies certain requirements for an individual to be appointed by the court as a custody evaluator. This bill also prohibits the court from ordering the costs of an assessment to be paid in whole or in part by a party without giving the parties notice and an opportunity to object. The bill did pass unanimously. There was one amendment adding sponsors. Therefore, I move the adoption of the favorable committee report with one amendment.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 222 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 277, Senator West, Estates and Trust, Venue for Administrative and Judicial Probate, Application of Inheritance Tax, favorable with one amendment.
Recognizing the senator from the 42nd as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This technical bill expands the bases upon which a determination can be made that a given county is the proper venue for the administrative or judicial probate of the estate of someone who's died. So let me go through the list. If the person was domiciled in Maryland, the proper venue is the county where the person was domiciled. That's easy. If the person was not domiciled in Maryland, but was domiciled in the United States, the venue is the county in which the most of the property of the decedent was located. If the person was not domiciled in Maryland and also not domiciled in the United States, but previously had been domiciled in Maryland, the proper venue is the county in which the person last resided. If the person is not domiciled in Maryland, not domiciled in the United States, and had never been domiciled in Maryland, there are 5 grounds that the petitioner can use in determining venue. And then finally, we had an amendment to the bill to provide a catch-all. I'm not sure how it would ever apply, but if none of the above has applied, then the proper venue is the county that either the Register of Wills or the Orphans Court or a governing entity has determined would be necessary, reasonable, and in the interest of justice. One other thing the bill does, it also establishes for the purpose of the inheritance tax, which is imposed on property with a taxable location for legal purposes in the state, the location of intangible personal property, and that includes things like financial holdings, patents, copyrights, things that lack a physical existence, is the domicile of the decedent. Again, with the amendment, there was no opposition to the bill. The vote of the committee was unanimous. I hereby move the adoption of the amendment and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 322 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill. I'm sorry. That was 277. Now up to, yes, clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 322, Senator Sidnor, Corge, Jury Service Disqualification, favorable.
Recognize the bill sponsor as the floor leader.
Thank you very much. This bill alters the circumstances under which an individual is disqualified from jury service. The bill does 3 things. It repeals a provision that disqualifies an individual who has previously received a sentence for imprisonment for more than 1 year. Instead, an individual is not qualified for jury service if the individual has been convicted of a crime punishable by imprisonment exceeding 1 year and is currently serving the sentence imposed for the conviction, including a term of parole or probation. Secondly, the bill disqualifies an individual for jury service if the individual was convicted of a crime involving or related to perjury, witness intimidation, jury intimidation, or a crime under Title 8 of the Criminal Law article, which deals with fraud and related crimes. And finally, the bill repeals a provision providing that an individual with a disqualifying conviction who has been pardoned qualifies for jury service. There were no committee amendments. The vote was 10-1. I move the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 322 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 447, Senator Guile, Child Abuse and Neglect, Disclosure of Reports and Records, favorable.
Recognize the senator from the 34th District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill authorizes, upon request, that the Department of Human Services disclose a report concerning child abuse or neglect to a child care center, a coach, team administrator, or manager of a youth sport team, and the administrator or other appropriate personnel of any organization that provides adult supervision or care and control of children. There were no amendments. The bill received unanimous support from the committee. I move the committee's favorable report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 447 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 463, Senator Muse, Municipalities Vagrancy Repeal of Authority to Prohibit, favorable.
Recognize the senator from the 26th District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President, colleagues. This bill simply takes vagrancy out of some of the statutes in our county. For example, it says a municipality may, not shall. It also is aimed at making sure that those who are homeless for reasons, for example, financial reasons, etc., that they are not jailed. This bill does not have an impact on persons who are involved with behavior like disorderly conduct, and there are other things for which they can be held liable. But that's all that this bill does, and it's a may and not a shall.
All right. Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Recognize the minority whip.
Mr. President, I have want to get into this a little bit more. I wonder if I could special order this for the appropriate time, maybe Thursday. I don't know if tomorrow we're coming back with this or.
Senators move to special order the bill to Thursday.
Yes, if I may, but not for the date that you talked to me
Just
about.
tomorrow.
It cannot be for April 15th. We can special order
I would
for
be
Thursday.
glad to special order it for as long as you'd like. But
thank you.
Thursday. Any objections? Any objections? Without objection, the bill will be special ordered at the appropriate time on Thursday. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 544, Chair, Judicial Proceedings, Courtroom Security, Minimum Adequate Security Standard, favorable.
Recognizing the senator from the capital city, the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. In 2024, this body, in response to the killing of Judge Andrew Wilkinson, adopted the Judge Andrew F. Wilkinson Judicial Security Act. What that act did is it established a task force that was tasked with coming up with some minimal safety standards for our courts. What this bill does is it adopts into law those minimal safety standards. Specifically, what the bill does is it adopts those adequate safety standards for our courthouses, but it tasks our court personnel with using their best efforts to meet those standards. It has certain provisions that will begin on July 1, 2027. It has other provisions that will begin on July 1, 2029. The bill also requires court security officers to meet the qualifications for a special police officer as defined in Section 3-301 of the Public Safety Article. There are no committee amendments, and the bill was adopted unanimously by the committee. I move for the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 544 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Let's go to number 7. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 177, Senator West, Criminal Law Interference with Access to or Egress from a Religious Facility Prohibition, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognize the Vice Chair of the Committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill disallows a person from using force, threat of force, or physical obstruction to interfere with or physically injure another, while the other is lawfully exercising or attempting to lawfully exercise the right of religious freedom under the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution at a place of religious worship. There are two amendments. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 strikes provision of the bill and clarifies the prohibition. Mr. President, I move the 2 amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion?
Mr. President.
Yes.
I apologize.
Sure.
I was trying to read the bill really quickly. Mr. Vice Chair, would you yield for a quick sec?
On the report, yes, Senator may proceed.
Of course.
Thank you. It says that this does not apply to law enforcement, a law enforcement officer. Would an ICE agent be included as a law enforcement officer? Would they be exempt if they were trying to prevent people from going to a place of worship?
So we're going to get an answer to that in 1 second here. My understanding of our definition of law enforcement is that it's usually a list of state law enforcement officers.
Which would not include federal agents.
We're going to get an answer to that question in 1 second.
Maybe if we're not reaching council, do you want to just...
So preliminary information indicates that the amendment takes out that section of the bill. So there's no exceptions under the bill.
Would you mind, Mr. Vice Chair or Mr. President, could we special order so I can have a conversation and understand the bill better?
That's fine, of course.
All right, Senators,
Thank you.
move to special order the bill. Any objections? Without objection, we'll special order the bill to the appropriate time tomorrow. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 294, Senator Love, Criminal Procedure, Protection of Identity of Victim of Sexual Assault or Stalking, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognize the bill sponsor is the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended, this bill prohibits on notice that a case filing or record includes identifying information about a victim of sexual assault or stalking, the court or party in a criminal or juvenile delinquency case from disclosing or allowing the inspection of electronic or paper filings or records to anyone other than the victim's representatives, unless all identifying information is redacted. The bill also includes a limited exception based on the court's finding of good cause by clear and convincing evidence. Further, on written request of a victim of sexual assault or stalking, the court must redact identifying information relating to the victim from an existing file or record. Basically, colleagues, we have this protection for minors of crimes, so we're adding victims of sexual assault and stalking. There are 2 amendments. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 provides for a health occupations board to obtain an unredacted record or filing under the bill's provisions under certain circumstances. The vote was unanimous out of the committee. I move the 2 amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 294 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 297, Senator Waldstreicher, Vehicle Laws, Manufacturers, Dealers, Prices listed on dealer website, favorable.
Recognize Vice Chair of the committee is the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill allows a franchisee of motor vehicles to indicate on their website that the advertised price may be the minimum advertised price allowable and that a lower price may be on offer. There are no committee amendments. Mr. President, I move the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 297 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 360, Senator Henson, Criminal Law Emergency Response Animal, Prohibited Actions Against, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognized senator from the capital cities, the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill amends what's in the existing code regarding law enforcement animals. What it does is it repeals the current prohibition. The current prohibition is against intentional infliction of bodily harm, permanent disability, or death of an animal which is owned or used by a law enforcement unit, except in the case of self-defense, which is a felony under the existing code. But what this bill does is it establishes a more broad prohibition, and it allows for a misdemeanor offense. Under the more broad prohibition, what it does is allow for an intentional harm that is a harassment or an interference with an emergency response animal. So not just dogs, but also recognizing that there are horses that are used in these for law enforcement purposes, and not just law enforcement, but also for first responders. We have animals that are used as cadaver dogs, animals that are used for search and rescue, animals that are used for a number of purposes. So it allows for that protection for all of those animals that are used, and under the broader range of criminal penalties as well, to respect the different conduct that might be used to harm those animals. There are 2 committee amendments, Mr. President. The first amendment adds sponsors to the bill. The second amendment provides for the defense of necessity, and those are the 2 committee amendments. With that, Mr. President, I would move for the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 360 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 366, Senator Waldstreicher, Motor Vehicles Intelligent Speed Assistance System Pilot Program Establishment, favorable with 1 amendment.
Recognizing the Vice Chair as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended, this bill establishes the Intelligent Speed Assistance System Pilot Program to be administered by the Motor Vehicle Administration. There is 1 committee amendment. The amendment adds restrictions related to data retention. Mr. President, I move the favorable committee report and the 1 committee amendment.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 1 committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 1 committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 366 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 531, Senator Heddleman, Criminal Procedure, Victims of Sexually Assaultive Behavior, Request for Verbal Acknowledgement, favorable with 1 amendment.
Recognized senator from the 16th District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, as amended, this bill prohibits a law enforcement agency in interactions with a victim of sexually assaulted behavior from making a request for verbal acknowledgement to waive certain rights as otherwise specified in statute. The only amendment was to add co-sponsors. I move the amendment and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the 1 committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 1 committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 531 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 533, Frederick County Senators, Frederick County Sheriff Salary, favorable.
Recognized senator from Frederick as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 533. Bill alters the annual salary for the Frederick County Sheriff, which has not been increased in 19 years, by establishing the salary equivalent to 82.5% of the Frederick County State's Attorney's annual salary, including any increments and salary adjustments. Any change in the salary of the State's Attorney during the Sheriff's term of office may not apply during the Sheriff's current term of office, but the changed rate takes effect at the beginning of the next term. Pursuant to the constitutional requirements, the salary structure specified in the bill takes effect at the beginning of the next term of sheriff. There are no committee amendments. Mr. President, I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 533 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 540, Chair, Judicial Proceedings Committee, Home Detention Monitoring Agencies, Promotion and Solicitation of Business Prohibition, favorable.
Recognize the senator from the 25th District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill prohibits a private home detention monitoring agency or its agent, an employee of a courthouse, or an employee of a correctional facility from soliciting business on the grounds of a courthouse. There were no committee amendments. This bill passed favorably across the entire committee, and I'll ask for a adoption of a favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 540 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 578, Senator James, Public Safety Department of State Police, Police-Initiated Towing Alterations, favorable with one amendment.
Recognize the senator from the 34th District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 578 is modeled after existing law for setting rates for police-initiated tows for heavy-duty commercial vehicles. This bill requires the state police to set rates for light-duty vehicles. There is one amendment which is partly clarifying, also asking for some reporting. The bill and amendment receive unanimous support. I would move the amendment and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 578 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 634, Chair, Judicial Proceedings Committee, Office of the State Prosecutor, Investigation of Threats, Judges, favorable.
Recognize the senator from District 4 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, Senate Bill 634. This bill adds a violation to subsection 3-708 of the criminal law article if the violation was committed against a judge or judge-elect to the offenses and violations that may be investigated by the state prosecutor. There are no committee amendments. Mr. President, I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 634 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. All right, let's go to number 8. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 323, Senator Smith, Juvenile Court Jurisdiction Youth Charging Reform Act, favorable with 7 amendments.
Recognize the chair of the committee as the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. As amended, this bill repeals provisions requiring that children charged with certain offenses be automatically charged in adult court. Rather, children charged with these offenses would initially be charged in the juvenile court, with prosecutors having the ability to petition the juvenile court to waive its jurisdiction and send the case to adult court. In addition, the bill requires that the Department of Juvenile Services authorize temporary detention of any child who is 16 or older and charged with possession of a handgun or a crime of violence. Finally, the bill alters provisions relating to the confinement of juvenile offenders in the adult correctional facilities with the intent of bringing the state into compliance with federal law that generally prohibits juveniles from being confined with sight and sound from adults. Mr. President, there are 7 committee members. Number 1 adds sponsors. Amendment number 2 is technical. Amendment number 3 restores some of the offenses to automatic charges. Amendment number 4 adds the requirement that DJS temporarily detain children. Amendment number 5 adds reporting requirements to the bill. Amendment number 6 adds the provisions relating to the confinement of juvenile offenders in the adult correctional facilities. Amendment number 7 removes obsolete language from the bill. Mr. President, I move for the adoption of the 7 committee amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the 7 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, recognize the minority whip.
Mr. President, there's an extensive number of amendments.
Mr. President, I have another amendment at the desk.
Okay.
Before you make that.
That's okay. Yes. Apologies.
Well,
yes.
we'd have to. The senator doing a motion.
I just didn't want him to motion to lay it over first before I added the other amendment.
We could do it on the next. All right. Okay. Questions on the 7 amendments? Any objections to the amendments? Without objection, 7 committee amendments are adopted. Questions on the amended report? Senator, recognize Senator from District 4 on the report, on the amended report.
Yes, I'll wait. until
Okay.
after this additional amendment.
Okay, if, on the report, any objections to the report? Without objection, the report is adopted. Senator has an amendment. Page will collect and distribute the senator's amendment. All right, on the amendment, or Senator, describe the amendment.
Yes, it's a sponsor amendment, adds 2 senators.
Recognize the minority whip on the amendment.
So, Mr. President, I was going to special order the bill for tomorrow.
I would just ask that the bill lie over and the amendments lie over under the rules.
All right, the chair has asked that we lay over the bill. The motion is in order. The bill and the amendment will lie over under the rule. The clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 776, Senator Smith, Commission on the House of Reformation and Instruction for Colored Children, establishment favorable for amendments.
Recognizing the chair of the committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. As amended, this bill establishes a commission on the House of Reformation and Instruction for Colored Children to be staffed by the Office of the Attorney General. The purpose of the commission is to research the history of the House, provide complete and public accounting of the children who died and were buried on the grounds of the House, and promote healing and reconciliation. Mr. President, there are 4 committee amendments. Amendment number 1 adds co-sponsors. Amendment number 2 adds members on the commission. And amendment number 3 requires the commission to the extent practicable and consistent with state and federal law to contract with Maryland institutions and historically black colleges and university. Amendment number 4 corrects erroneous language in the bill. Mr. President, I would move for the adoption of the 4 committee amendments in the favorable committee report.
Further to move to the adoption of the 4 committee amendments in the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 4 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Senator has an amendment. Pages will collect and distribute the senator's amendment.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right. Senator, want to describe the amendment?
Sponsor amendment adds co-sponsors to the bill.
Any objection to the senator's amendment? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none.
Mr. President, I would ask that the bill and the amendments lie over under the rules after the adoption of the amendment. But we got to take it off.
Well, we have the amendment. I think we went a little too quickly, so we'll strike the adoption of the amendment. And the question before the body is on the amendment. Recognize the chair.
Is now the appropriate time to ask that the
bill and the
amendments lie over under the rules?
The motion would be in order. The bill and the amendment will lie over under the rule. Okay. All right. Let's go. We have, let's see, 2 more. We got a special order calendar number 13. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 108, Chair, Education, Energy, and the Environment Committee, Environment, Water Resources, and Wetlands Enforcement. Question is on the adoption of the 1 committee amendment and the favorable report.
All right, we are on the 1 committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, recognize the senator from the 37th. Let's hear the floor leader. Nope.
Yes, I wanted to move to withdraw the committee amendment number 603-126/1.
All right. Do we have a replacement amendment? Or
We do.
Okay. The senator has moved to withdraw the committee amendments. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the committee amendments are withdrawn. The question now is on the favorable committee report. On the report.
Yes, Mr. President, I have a substitute amendment.
Let's double check. Is this going to be a substitute amendment, or will this be? Let's just make sure we take the steps appropriately.
Sorry, it's not a substitute amendment. It's going to replace what we just withdrew.
It's substitute. All right. So this is a substitute amendment. Oh, we're going to get, hold on 1 second. Let's double check this.
This is the amendment that our committee discussed on Thursday or Friday last week and voted on.
Let's do this. Would the senator be open to special ordering the favorable report to the appropriate time tomorrow?
Sure.
Any objections? Any objections? All right. Without objection, the bill will be special ordered to the appropriate time tomorrow. All right. If we could, Madam Secretary, if we could ring the bells, please. Quorum call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 43 members in the chamber, and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. We are on third reading calendar number 19. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 338, Senator Lewis Young, State Retirement and Pension System transfers between systems workgroup extension.
Senate Bill 338 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 44 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 338, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 448, Carroll County Senators, Carroll County Public Facilities Bond.
Senate Bill 448 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 44 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 448, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 453, Senator Jennings, Horse Racing, Laurel Park Arabian Breed Racing Authorization.
Senate Bill 453 is on third reading for final passage. Senators, this is an emergency bill. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 44 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 453, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 614, Dorchester County Senators, Correctional Officers Retirement System, Dorchester County.
Senate Bill 614 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 44 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 614, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 724, Senator Lewis Young, State Retirement and Pension Systems Cost of Living Adjustment Clarification.
Senate Bill 724 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? Senators, this is an emergency bill. If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 44 votes in the affirmative, having received a constitutional majority, the bill is declared passed. All right, Senators, the desk is now clear. It was a busy day. A lot of work done today. All right, let's do this. Let's start with committees. Chair Finance.
I think we have a rules meeting after session, am I right?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay. I think Finance will meet at 1 o'clock. We can do that. Thank you.
1 o'clock for Finance. Education, Energy, and the Environment.
Okay, well, I was going to go 1:15, but that said, 1 o'clock.
1
The
o'clock.
committee will meet for bill hearings at 1 p.m. We don't want to be outdone by the Finance Committee.
All right, fair enough. 1 o'clock. All right, Budget and Tax.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have budget hearings at 1 o'clock. We have bill hearings after that, and then we have capital budget after that.
All right, excellent. All right, Chair of Judicial Proceedings.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. The Judicial Proceedings Committee will meet today at 1:15 for bill hearings.
1:15. All right. Other standing committees, select committees, delegations, caucuses, Yes, Senator, Montgomery County delegation.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, time permitting, the Montgomery County Senate delegation will get together right after floor session on Thursday. Please mark that on your calendars.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Senator. Baltimore County, or excuse me, veterans?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. President. Colleagues, the Veterans Caucus will meet tomorrow, Wednesday, March 4th at 8 a.m. in the Prince George's County Room located in the House Office Building, room number 150. The Maryland Military Installation Council, who will speak on the role of the responsibilities of the council. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Excellent. Thank you, Senator. Chair of Budget and Tax.
Missed one.
Yes.
Tomorrow morning, voting 8:30.
Oh, yes. All right. Bright and early. Bright and early. Yes, Senator from District 6.
Tomorrow we have 8 o'clock. We have our prayer at time at the Neal Room, but also let everybody know the legislative prayer breakfast will be March the 12th at 7:30 in the West Senate Miller Room 1 and 2. The program starts at 8 o'clock. We have 2 special speakers. We also have the Salisbury Children's Choir. They're going to be singing there as well. Please just let us know. We'd like to get the numbers. And again, it's free. We love everybody to come. And just thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. All right. Any further announcements? Yes, Senator from St. Mary's.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, tonight, 5 to 7, the Miller Building, we have historic St. Mary's City, and we also have the College of St. Mary's College. So we have both of them sharing a venue, and we would love to have everybody attend. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Senator. All right, one more small announcement, historic announcement. As in the 46th District, we are so pleased to have the Fort McHenry. Today, March 3rd, is National Anthem Day. Apparently, in 1931, the Star Spangled Banner was officially adopted as the national anthem of the United States after an act of Congress. So, of course, it was the War of 1814, or War of 1812, and in 1814. So today is National Anthem Day. Exciting, exciting. Yes. You want? I don't think anybody wants that. That's a. All right. Let's do a quorum call, please.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 43 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. Recognizing the Deputy Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate of Maryland stand adjourned until tomorrow, March 4th at 10 a.m.
Without objection, so ordered. Have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow.